All right. Way late getting this started, but I appreciate I appreciate the patience here. Folks, it has been it has been a time. I'm telling you with this getting sick inside of a house with several people. Anybody who lives in that situation can tell you that sickness can roll around a couple of times before it finally peters out. But this was like three different things. It went from sinus infection to the flu to RSV, and I was feeling good I was feeling okay. I mean, y'all could tell I still had a bit of a cough, but on Monday, Tuesday, I was wiped out, and last night I was a little bit better, and I was just like, I just can't get to I just can't get the streaming on. So finally today, I woke up, felt much better, and I feel like a human being, like a real human being, and it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back up and streaming, even if it's for one more time tonight or this week. And glad to spend time with all of you. My name is Stuart Davis. I am a flawed man of God, host of this show of the same name. I am a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. Been a Christian all my life. Been a Christian all my life. 41 years, non-denominational Protestant. Don't subscribe to a particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Often I'll get it wrong, but no matter what, you're catching this stream, and if you're hearing my voice, you can count on getting my honest takes on whatever it is that we're talking about. So if you're somebody who is new to Christianity, or you are perhaps just interested, you want to become a Christian, you feel like this is the missing piece in your life, and it's where you need to be. But it's a big step. It's a big step. Granted, some people can jump in feet first or head first, just dive right in, but that might not be you. We're talking about your soul. We're talking about your faith. There's obviously a lot of trust that comes on with that. I'm worried that you might be wrong, or putting faith and trust in something that is only going to take advantage of you, because people will often see that and try to take advantage uh, in vulnerability. So you come on here, the internet, looking for some sort of motivation, some sort of reassurance. And if that's you and you landed here, I'll get it all out of the way right now. If you need the motivation, get through it here. You're on the right track. If you are honestly, diligently, and obediently pursuing Christ, you're on the right track, and you should not deviate from that. Understand that, like yourself, the world is full of broken people, and you shouldn't let other broken people um, affect your faith in God, because it's you and it's God. It's not other folks. You'd be surprised at the impact that you can have on other people with that mentality, and how resilient your faith can be. And so I want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I believe in you. I'm praying for you. And so is everybody in this chat and everybody who's listening to this show. We all want to see that from you. Don't give up. And more importantly than all of us, God wants that from you as well. This is not about attempting to exclude people. This is encouraging every people to uh, come into the faith and do the right thing. And if you're already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome to this show as well. You'll find we run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's about the small group. We have a small group forming in the chat. That's us. Humble couple dozen viewers each night. And some of us speak up. You see them in the chat. Obviously, you're going to hear me running my mouth. But that's what we are, where we are. And that's kind of how this whole show is oriented. And if that's what you're looking for, a nice, relaxed, informal setting, we can just talk about our faith and talk about scripture and read it, pray on it. And I think you'll like this. I think you'll like this show. So stick around. Stick around and get comfortable and get in the chat. Chat's got a group of great folks who tune in and night out. And we'd love for you to be part of that. And it's easy. It's easy to be part of the chat. The chat is so integral to this stream because it is a group of us. It's easy to be part of that. You just got to talk. Chat moves slow enough generally that and it's small enough that if you put something in that box, I'm going to read it and respond to it. So tell me where you agree and disagree. Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? What unique perspective, experience, or insights do you have that perhaps we haven't talked about? Or maybe you just want to add on to something somebody else has said. Share your opinion and ask questions. I'm not promising to have the answers, but I can tell you we can at least talk about your question and hopefully point you in the right direction. Maybe one of these fine folks in the chat knows the answer to it. So, welcome, Alex. Welcome, Thad. Did you catch the John Rich song? No, I have not. I'll do it. Revel Revel Passions? Revel Passions? Oh, he came back with the oops, screwed that up. Revelation. Good. And Nico is here late to the party, but hey, so was I actually. Times were late, right? So yeah, sick the last 2 days. Thought I was over it Monday. Thought I was on the mend, and I was kind of, but I had a little bit of a sickness relapse. It sucks, but finally, I can breathe again. Finally, I don't feel fatigued all the time, and I don't sound like a 1900s automobile trying to turn over on a cold day. So, all right, we are well into Proverbs these days. And what we found out on Monday is things are picking up. The pace is going to pick up because we went from something we saw. Let's see. Something. Will you stop? Why do I stop it? Why is this thing? Scrolling so weird. All right, here we go. Proverbs. What we're used to over the last, I don't know, 15 chapters, well, it seems. Why is. Uh, there we go. Sorry. For some reason, the internet's being slow, or just the browser's being slow, or whatever. Anyway, past few chapters, we've had, one proverb, then another proverb, and we discuss them each as we went down, did about 5 proverbs a night, about 5 verses a night. It's been a while. Well, last chapter 22 does the same thing until you get about halfway through, and then it's one long proverb, kind of. It's almost like a letter. It's almost like it's like a mini speech, a little monologue. And it looks like we're going to have a little bit of the same here in chapter 23. So, we're going to break it down into 2 pieces, or however many pieces it needs to be broken down into. But let's talk about the first one. The first one tonight. Wait, we might do both. I don't know why I just said that. Might do both. Oh, let's see. All right. On life and conduct. Proverbs 23. When you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is set before you. For you will put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for it is deceptive food offered to you with questionable motives. Do not weary yourself with the overwhelming desire to gain wealth. Cease from your own understanding of it. When you set your eyes on wealth, it is suddenly gone. For wealth certainly makes itself wings, like an eagle that flies into the heavens. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man, or desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior, one who manipulates. He says to you, eat and drink, yet his heart is not with you, but it is begrudging the cost. The morsel which you have eaten, you will vomit up, and you will waste your compliments. Do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the godly wisdom of your words. Do not move the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property, and do not go into the fields of the fatherless to take what is theirs. For their Redeemer is strong and mighty. He will plead their case against you. Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from the child. If you swat him with a reed like rod, applied with godly wisdom, he will not die. You shall swat him with the reed like rod and rescue his life from Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart will also be glad. Yes, my heart will rejoice when your lips speak right things. Do not let your heart envy sinners who live godless lives and have no hope of salvation, but continue to live in the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord day by day. Surely there is a future and a reward, and your hope and expectation will not be cut off. Listen, my son, and be wise, and direct your heart in the way of the Lord. Do not associate with heavy drinkers of wine or with gluttonous eaters of meat. For the heavy drinkers, for the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty, and the drowsiness of overindulgence will clothe one with rags. Listen to your father who sired you. Do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. Get wisdom and instruction and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who sires a wise child will have joy in him. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her who gave birth to you rejoice in your wise and godly choices. My son, give me your heart, and let your eyes delight in my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and a moral woman is a narrow well. She lurks and lies in wait like a robber who waits for prey, and she increases the faithless among men. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Whose eyes are red and dim? Those who linger long over wine, those who go to taste mixed wine. Wait, those who linger long over wine, those who go to taste mixed wine. Do not look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the glass, when it goes down smoothly. At the last, it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. Your drunken eyes will see strange things, and your mind will utter perverse things, untrue things, and twisted things. And you will be as unsteady as one who lies down in the middle of the sea. Sorry. And as vulnerable to disaster as one who lies down on top of a ship's mast, saying, They struck me, but I was not hurt. They beat me, but I did not feel it. When will I wake up? I will sink more wine. Some words against drunkenness here. And disciplining children. I went ahead and just read the whole thing because I figured we're probably just going to go through the whole thing. It did not flow quite like the end of 22. It's kind of a mix between the two different styles that we've seen. But it does tend to lean back towards like the beginning chapters of Proverbs. So let's get into it. When you sit down with a rule to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is set before you. Yeah, you're if you're sitting down with royalty, it might be important to consider all the things that you are doing and that are happening to you. For you will put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Interesting proverb here. Interesting bit of advice. I'm trying to think of what exactly he's driving at here is if you're being gluttonous and just pigging out instead of being reserved, um, moderating your behavior, behaving in that fashion, um, that might be considered a more respectful behavior of a guest, as opposed to, like I said, just pigging out. Um, if you upset a ruler, a lord, or so whoever, usually they have the power and influence to put you in some sort of jeopardy, right? Whether it be put your life in danger or your career in danger or whatever. But when you sit down with a person who you deem important and influential, it's important to act with some daggone manners. Do not desire his delicacies before it is deceptive food offered to you with questionable motives. Yeah, I imagine there's a reason that you are being invited to dinner. This isn't a dinner between friends. This is a dinner with some sort of ulterior motive or design. Doesn't necessarily mean it's something nefarious, but a lot of A lot of times people play these games, and I'm very bad at this because I don't like that at all. It has gotten me. This is good advice for me. Um, though I tend not to be rude or disorderly when somebody is hosting me, um, no matter who they are. But it's also important to remember, like I said, if somebody important invites you into their home and it's not out of charity, even if it is out of charity, that there's not some sort of other purpose in mind. Do not weary yourself with the overwhelming desire to gain wealth. Cease from your own understanding of it. Yeah, don't work yourself to death just because you want to be rich. You're working hard to pay the bills, to put food on the table, to provide for your family. That's one thing. Provide, like legitimately provide, not go over the top. Like some people, very good people, very people with the best of intents, can waste their life chasing a bigger paycheck, chasing a better payday, even when they already have the means to live comfortably. And they put the hours in, and they um, work as hard as possible, as many hours as not as is asked of them. They burn the candle at both ends, and they end up missing out on everything else that goes around them. And there is another aspect of this from a faith perspective, and not just you as a leader of your family. If you were a husband, if you were the father, it also has to do with how much time you are devoting to God and to making sure you are keeping yourself in line with His commands. How obedient are you being? How faithful are you being? How's your prayer life? Is any of that being uh, compromised by your pursuit for more money or wealth? Or literally, to me, it could be anything worldly. Because oftentimes, church, prayer life, all that is one of the first casualties when you have to give time up. God will understand. Won't He? It depends on why. He doesn't understand. That doesn't necessarily mean He understands in the way that you think He understands. Oh, God's cool with it. He knows why. Yeah, that doesn't mean He doesn't have a problem with it. It's forgivable because God shows us grace and mercy and those kind of things. It's forgivable, obviously, but that's not the attitude we should have. We should be diligent in making sure we are present in our faith, in our church, among our congregations, that we are present as husbands or wives, present as fathers or mothers, and even present as children to our parents. It's hard. We fill our days up with so much stuff. And when you have kids, young kids, you've got them in so many activities, you feel like you don't have a moment to rest. but you need to rest. You take care of yourself, and you also need to make sure that you have carved time out for God. Because imagine how much He has invested in all of us, right? It's not unfair to ask us to make sure we make time for Him. He's the reason we're here anyway. Cease from your own understanding from it. So basically, just fix. No, work. Work needs to be work, and you make of it what you can. You pay the bills, but it's not your life's mission to accumulate wealth. It's not your goal. It's not your desire. When you set your eyes on wealth, it is suddenly gone. And I don't know if this is what he means here, but what I get out of that is it ends up never being enough. For wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies into the heavens. It's never enough. It's always something you're chasing, or it's always just out of your grasp. And you chase it so much, um, you try to hold on to it so much, you either crush it or it slips right through your fingers. The pursuit of wealth ends up being all consuming. The white whale. And unlike with faith, the pursuit of wealth can oftentimes put you in positions where you are compromising principles, compromising godly principles even. But you got to get that bag, right? It's very important to get paid. You need to make that car payment. You want to buy a house. You want a new Xbox game. You got to make sure that your kids have got the latest and greatest underneath their Christmas tree. Or you got to make sure they can afford college. Most of those that I just said are things that I spend money on. And I have chased paychecks before. But one of the things that I feel comfortable doing is trying to weigh the pros and cons of taking a job that pays well that might put me in a position um, I don't want to be. Now I've made mistakes and taken jobs that weren't a good situation, but that was because the job description did not match the what was actually required. Um, I have had many job offers to make. Most of them, I would be making significantly more than I make now, but it would pull me out of the state, away from family, away from my community, my congregation, my fellow believers, put me in a different place with much more focus on what I'm on my career than my personal life. In fact, there was a recent offer for me that would increase my responsibilities, but also double my salary, which is a lot to look at. And I was interested in it. but the demands that came along with it would be too much. Um, it costs too much to be away from my family or to be pulled away from family or unavailable for family events, unavailable to help out with church, though I've dialed a lot of my church volunteering back, um, just because of um, switching churches, new group, just a new environment. But it would require demands that would take me away from faith and family. What am I enjoying out of that? If something takes me away, how am I enjoying the wealth that I get out of that? How am I going to enjoy the stress that comes along with that? I'm gonna let somebody else take care of that. The job really should be done by two people. I'll let somebody figure that out. I've got enough, right? When I pray to God, I thank Him for the blessings that He has given me. Do not deserve what I have. Do not deserve it, but I do have it. And so I am thankful for it. And I do want blessings to continue. This is very similar to what I'm praying for. Um the I do want those blessings to continue, but if they all were taken away tomorrow, if my home was taken away, if my family was taken away from me, if my freedom was taken away from me, I would be upset. I would be mourning, but I would be thankful for what time and blessings I got with them. Be thankful to God for that. And I try to tell my kids that as well. Appreciate what you got for as long as you got it, because you don't know when it's going to be taken away. Your world can be turned upside down in an instant. And a tragedy is, you never know where it's lurking. Is it around the corner? You don't know. And don't focus on, not to focus on that, but to appreciate where you've been and what it's provided for it to you. For me, like I said, blessings upon blessings. I don't feel like I've been cheated. I feel like I said, I feel like I've been given way more than I deserve. But I'm thankful for it. Not eat the bread of a selfish man or desire his delicacies, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he in behavior, one who manipulates. He says to you, eat and drink, yet his heart is not with you, but it is begrudging the cost. With the morsel which you have eaten, you will vomit up, and you will waste your compliments. Eating the bread of a selfish man. Look, this is somebody talking about the hospitality of a man who's doing it because he feels coerced, forced by whatever societal pressure, whatever. A man who does not want to be charitable or to be hospitable or whatever, because they're going to take an account of all that you take, even though he offers it to you. He's only doing it because he has to, and he feels like you're cheating him. You're stealing from him. I was talking earlier about situations where, um, you know, where I've made the wrong decision. Took a job working for a guy who very much felt like everybody who had any bit of, how do I want to word this? Anyone who was happy with what they were doing in his employment had to be getting one over on him. I actually worked for two people like this. One just wasn't like this all the time, but they were constantly worried that their employees were getting one over on them. And it ate them, even though the businesses were profitable, even though um, it wasn't really costing them anything if they were getting over on them. The idea that the scales weren't tipped in their favor ate them up inside. And they thought they were being ripped off. And they looked at their employees accusingly and would look for any excuse to go after them. Or in one case, in one of their cases, uh, try to get leverage on them by doing something for them and then holding that over their heads. Loan them money, do them a favor. For me, it was, um, I was working a couple of years ago. Tree fell on the house. Tree fell on my house, uh, and I called him the next day to be like, "Hey," or I called him that night. I said, "Hey, not going to be in to work tomorrow. I've got a tree falling on my house. I got to figure this out. I've got time. I'm taking time. I've got time to take." So, but I'm just letting you know. I know this is very short notice. This wasn't planned, but I needed time off. Um, and then later on, he goes, we were having a discussion about something, and he said, "Well, what about that time that tree fell on your house, and I let you take that time off?" And I told him, I was like, "Look, I was not showing up to work whether you gave me the time off or not. So don't think that you granted me time with time to take care of my business. It was going to happen one way or the other. I have a life that exists outside of my career, and it's outside of your control and your domain. And if you have a problem with that, you've got a problem." But I didn't exist in his community. I commuted a while ways to get there, and didn't exist in his community. I didn't know the same people, so his influence and his, like I said, his leverage didn't exist, and he could not. I could tell it ate him up inside because it didn't bother me. And so I mean, that's what you can look at. It's like, oh yeah, take this, take this. I'm keeping track of it. I'm keeping score. I'm giving you something for nothing, but really not. But I'm really not. And it's really pissing me off that I feel like I need to give this stuff to you, that's expected of me for whatever reason they're doing it. The morsel which you have eaten, you will vomit up because you won't want it anymore because they're going to bring it up all the time, and you will waste your compliments because they don't care about them. They just care about what you took that was theirs. It is amazing how people are addicted to things. And we all are to a degree, I think. It's a very rare person indeed who is not who does not have this to some extent. But some folks are absolutely beholden to this feeling. What's mine is mine. It's always mine. And even if that under no circumstances should I ever be expected to share or be charitable or whatever. And when I am forced to do it, I am so resentful about it. That's what goes on in their heads. And it is good to avoid those people all together. Do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the godly wisdom of your words. I was having this, ran into this today. Instagram. Dude, theology on theology on Instagram, Christianity on Instagram is so cooked, as the kiddos say. But it's so bad. There are genuinely good content creators out there, but they are so few and far between uh, when you put them into comparison to everybody else out there. Everybody else is trying to get all the attention with rage posts and all this other stuff. Start an argument because it gets likes, or buy my book. Chris Bray music, golly, it is nothing but him and his face always giving some weird creepy smile and saying something inflammatory or trying to invoke an argument or whatnot, and then it's bad. It's supposed to be Catholicism, but he's not even good at presenting Catholicism. And then you see more in the description, buy my book. It's a grift. There's so much grifting. I hate it. I hate it, guys. I don't like the grift, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. As I said, I'm not monetized here. I don't care if I ever get monetized. I certainly don't want y'all to send me super chats when I do. If I want to get ad revenue, great, fine, I guess. I'm gonna give the vast majority of it to charities. Instagram, I don't care. Dude, all I want to do is just fix it. I know I never can. I'm not even put a dent in it, but I do, and I can't help it. I can't help it. I gotta fix it. I gotta try to fix it. Guy on there, he's trying to justify, he's trying to make the biblical case for polygamy, right? Why? We know we have examples set before us on why that's a bad idea. What always seems to happen when you have a man, a father, a husband living with multiple wives, with children with all those wives, all raised together. There is so much drama and fighting and evil that results out of it that it's best just to avoid it altogether. So it's like, look, this is dumb. This is just dumb. And the guy comes on there, it's like, no, can you give me just one example? It's like, yeah, I can give you several examples. Sarah and Hagar. Hagar had Ishmael. Immediately resentment there. There was immediate conflict to the point where Abraham had to send Hagar away. Now, and here's the other thing to remember. They did that not obeying God, because Sarah was the one who initiated all that, because she was impatient. And then when when Abraham had his kid, she wasn't happy with that. She's actually resentful. Or Joseph, or I'm sorry, Jacob and his 4 wives. The competition that ensued between Leah and Rebecca. Was it Leah and Rachel? I can't remember. I always get Rachel and Rebecca confused. Anyway, I brought up that 12 kids out of that whole thing, and one of them was sold into slavery by the rest of them, and the dynamics between each of them was all weird. David and his family, and then again, I also mentioned it all starts at the beginning. Genesis: one Adam, one Eve. Be fruitful and multiply. And then he comes back and goes, "Oh, I need you to cite the chapter and verse." I'm like, and this wasn't. I was like, "Look, dude, you're already trying to be dishonest in this. There's no sense in pursuing this any further. You're a gooner. You're obsessed with lust and multiple women's and not being monogamous. That's your pursuit. That's clearly why you're hung up on this. Doesn't take you just have to be an adult and take an adult perspective to understand that the Bible frowns upon polygamy." He says, "Well, Martin Luther actually said he supports it." Actually, Martin Luther spoke against it. Luther thought it was wrong. Didn't think it needed to be outlawed. Didn't say that the Bible forbid it. Like I said, it frowns upon it. Didn't say forbid it. But also Martin Luther only had one wife. Didn't agree with it. He also mentioned Martyr, who said Justin Martyr spoke in favor of it. Justin Martyr was vehemently against polygamy. And knowing all this stuff, this person isn't a serious person. So I just said, keep it moving, Gooner. Because they're not going to listen to what you have to say. Not speak in the ears of a fool. Don't. There's no sense in it. They're not going to listen to you. I've said my piece on it. You want to make up all the stuff. You want to make yourself sound smarter by listing church fathers that you think agree with you, and they don't. Great, whatever. We all know the real reason that you're saying all this. It's because you're obsessed with lust, right? And it has driven you to foolishness. Do not move the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property, and do not go in the fields of the fathers. Take what is theirs. We talked about this Monday. We talked about moving the ancient landmark and taking advantage of the orphans and the widows. Actually, no, not the orphans and the widows, but the poor. Almost the same thing. Don't take advantage of people. Don't defraud them. Don't be dishonest in your dealings. You're only hurting yourself and them. You're hurting everybody involved is hurt. You're hurting your soul, and you're hurting them on multiple levels. And then if you get caught, then you're in trouble. And I love the back. For their Redeemer is strong and mighty. He will plead their case against you. That's probably a nuanced way of saying God is watching you from a distance. Apply your heart to discipline, and your ears to words of knowledge. Yeah. Educate yourself. Arm yourself with knowledge. And be disciplined about it. Intentionality. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional about all the things you do that are important to you. If you have friends, it's intentional to spend. You have to be intentional. You have to be intentional in spending time with them. and nurturing that relationship. You go to church, you want to go to church, you want to be faithful and everything. You have to be intentional about that faith. Spending time in prayer, um, reading scripture, taking part in your with your congregation, supporting your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. You got to be intentional about it. And I'll be like, I go to church every once in a while. Go to church when I can make time for it. No, that's not being intentional. Be intentional. Same thing. If you're going to do something and if you're going to stick to it, that's why they often call these things, it is a discipline. Be disciplined about it. Do not withhold discipline from the child if you swat him with a reed-like rod applied with godly wisdom. It's called the reed, godly wisdom. I'm hitting you with godly wisdom. He will not die. You shall swat him with the reed-like rod and rescue his life from Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. This is making sure your kids understand punishment, cause and effect. Know that they are not know that they can't get away with stuff, and then that eventually that they will. Understand right and wrong. I understand that actions have consequences that can affect other people. Know that you're paying attention, just like God is paying attention. And what happens and that they can understand that punishment is a real thing that exists in the real world. Even if you take it out of society, it exists in the natural world. You can't escape it. So the more you instill this in your kids, by holding them accountable, by making them be responsible for what they're doing, by um, following through with punishment and discipline, they understand. They respect it. They respect the rules. Doesn't always happen. I'm not saying that this is the magic pill, but this is good advice. That is why it's a good proverb. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart will also be glad. Yes, my heart will rejoice when your lips speak the right things. Nothing makes a father or mother probably happier than seeing their kids succeed in doing the right thing. I would rather my son be homeless and penniless and righteous before God than being a rich man with no relationship with God or understanding of God or belief in him. His life is temporary. Or time here is temporary, though it seems long. That eternity is eternal. So we need to have that right perspective there. Do not let your don't let your heart envy sinners who live godless lives and have no hope of salvation, but continue to live in the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord every day. Surely there is a future and a reward, and your hope and expectation will not be cut off. Listen, my son, and be wise, and direct your heart in the way of the Lord. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there with lots of money, lots of popularity, do a lot of things, feel like they're carefree. You envy them. Wish I could be like that person. Don't. Don't. Because what do we see? Living godless lives with no hope of salvation. Not to say that they could not receive salvation, but on their current trajectory, they are living a godless lives and will not get they do not have a hope of salvation. Do the right thing, not what everybody else thinks is popular. That's such a problem with our churches today, is that they are so obsessed with appeasing what society what society wants them to be okay with, and shaming, and they're so worried about being shamed by society for what society doesn't like that they just go with it instead of continue to live in the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord day by day. Do not let your heart envy sinners who live godless lives and have no hopes of salvation, but continue to live in the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord day by day. Surely there is a future and a reward, and your hope and expectation will not be cut off. There is salvation in that. God will see that. You're doing the right thing. Now we're going to talk about wine. Who wants to talk about drinking? Who wants to talk about alcohol? I got some Whistle Pig back there. It's not wine, but it's good. That's the difference between that and wine. I actually don't like wine. Do not like the flavor of wine. I do believe, like the high church prots and the Catholics and the Ortho, that communion should be served with actual wine. That have to be top shelf or vintage wine, but it should be wine, actual wine, and not this grape juice stuff. Even though I like the taste of wine. Do not associate with heavy drinkers of wine or with gluttonous eaters of meat. Now I'm taking this personally because I eat a fair share of steaks and hamburgers and pork products. For the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty, and the drowsiness of overindulgence will clothe one with rags. Listen to your father who sired you, and do not desire. Do not despise your mother, not desiring your mother either. That is also a sin. But do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. Get wisdom and instruction and understanding. It's going to come back to wine later, but I guess right here we're talking about it. Don't. This is getting caught up with people with substance abuse issues because they didn't. I don't know. I don't think they had opium dens, or pot wasn't a thing. Cocaine wasn't a thing. All these drugs, drug culture wasn't there, but alcoholism was, and so was gluttony, eating too much. That's me. I ate too much. Just ask Nico. He saw how much I had for breakfast when we hung out. It was a lot. Country fried steak. Not a full belly when we left too. But because that addiction is going to drive them to poverty. That addiction is going to ruin their lives because it's going to consume their lives, and you don't want to get caught up in it. Listen to your father who sired you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Respect your parents, listen to them, understand them, and take care of them when they get older. They took care of you when you were vulnerable. You can take care of them when they are vulnerable. It is so important. I think this is something that America really just doesn't appreciate the way that other cultures do, which is looking after the old. Now, we look after them better than they do in Canada or in the UK because it seems like all they want to do is kill them. But instead of that, we should be looking to spend as much time with them as possible. Don't men your family should not be alone. Your mother and father should not be left alone. They should not feel like their family has abandoned them. And we've got nursing homes full of older folks whose kids just stuck them there. or whose kids think that their parents are dumb because they didn't go to college, or they went to college at the wrong time, or they didn't vote for the right politician, or any of that stuff. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her who gave birth to you rejoice in your wise and godly choices. It really is. It really is what we want. Number one desire for my kids is that they love God with all their hearts, know Him, keep Him close, depend on Him, lean on Him, pray to Him, all that stuff. Obey Him for the rest of their lives and raise their kids the same way. It is such it is such a concern for us as parents. There we go. My son, give me your heart and let your eyes delight in my ways. Yeah. All right. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and an immoral woman is a narrow well. She lurks and lies in wait like a robber who waits for prey, and she increases the faithless among men. Well, this is coming from Solomon. Solomon's got a fair amount of insight with this because he married a lot of women who pulled him away from doing the right thing and instead worshiping their gods and probably behaving in a very perverted manner, though let's not assign blame. I don't know anywhere that exactly was pointed out in scripture, but they obviously were influencing him in terrible ways. A prostitute is a deep pit, and an immoral woman is a narrow well. She lurks and lies in wait like a robber and increases the faithless among men. She can ruin you. Keep your eyes out. Where's my man Emmanuel Osorio? Always out there. They ain't loyal. You need a you need a spouse who is. You need a spouse who is. Men, you wanna have a wife who's got your back, who is faithful and moral and is ready to do what it takes to be a wife. And women, you need to make sure you find a man who is uh sure in his faith, is moral, understands that he needs to provide for you, be that security, and be that leader in the household. He needs to take up that responsibility. Because if he doesn't, and if he expects you to do everything, we have an immoral man. If he's not interested in having having faith in God, he is an immoral man. Sorry, I had to cough a bit. Y'all been seriously quiet tonight. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds and without cause? Whose eyes are dim and red? All of us. All of us have fallen into these categories before. All of us have had points of times where we have endured sorrow, woe, strife, where we have had complaints, valid complaints, maybe not so valid complaints. Felt like we were injured without reason, and have cried and been stressed out, been tired and exhausted. All these things, we've all had them. Those who linger over long wine, those who go to taste mixed wine, do not look at the wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the glass, when it goes down smoothly. At the last, it bites like a serpent and stings like a viper. I don't understand some of this stuff because, like I said, I'm not so much of a wine drinker, but I think what it's getting at is it's wine sneaky. Might like the taste of it. You might like how it makes you feel, but all that good feeling and imbibing and everything, once it gets out of control, once you are giving into drunkenness, your drunken eyes will see strange things and your mind will utter perverse things. You get the pink elephants. You got pink elephants on parade. Mind will utter perverse things. Might do or say something you're not supposed to somebody that isn't your husband or your wife. Might get a little out of hand. Might get yourself in trouble. Untrue things, twisted things. You will be as unsteady as one who lies down in the middle of the sea, and as vulnerable to disaster as one who lies down on the top of a ship's mast, saying, "They struck me, but I was not hurt. They beat me, but I did not feel it. And when will I wake up? I will seek more wine." Sometimes the most annoying drunks are the ones who think that they are philosophers when they're drunk. And they're like, "Let me tell you what the key of life is." Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure. And they go into this, they wax philosophically on whatever it is that they think is insightful at the moment. And the whole time you're sitting there going, "Dude, this guy's drunk as hell." Um, it's unsteady as one who lies down in the middle of the sea. I was just thinking about somebody just lying down in the water in the middle of the sea, just sinking. But obviously, that there is a nautical theme here for being on being on a ship. Bottom line here is wine can make you say and do dumb things. It will make you obnoxious to the people around you and might make you feel bad about who you are. And that's not just drunkenness, that's substance abuse in general. It's a bad place to be. We've talked about addiction on the show before. Many of us have dealt with our own addictions. Many of us have lost friends and family from addiction. We don't need to get into this, but it's important to note it's here. If you were ever concerned that maybe you weren't taking it seriously, it's here. And if any of you guys think that you can't get addicted to something, trust me, you already are addicted to something. Likely. You likely are already addicted to something. So, all right. So this is going to wrap up our stream for tonight. Like I said, y'all been so quiet. So really, it's just Nico, Thad, and Alex that I'm thanking for for their participation tonight. It's been this was a very good episode, full of really good information, really good proverbs. But that's what we're used to when we're reading scripture. It's almost always insightful. There's always something that you can pull from this. I've been, I have, I am. This was a pleasant thing to realize is that you can go through verses sometimes, like we have been in Proverbs, but generally you can read a couple of chapters of the script of Scripture a night and come away with something useful to help you be more faithful, help you be more obedient, to help you be a better Christian. And we do that. We do that on these episodes, each and every episode, where we're reading Scripture. Sometimes we're not. That's which case that might be different. But anyway, all right, guys. This is the end of the show. Everybody listening, thank you, because I know that my I guess that we are all tired. Hey, dude, everybody's getting sick. And I don't know if that's just around the Richmond area where I am. It seems like everybody's getting sick. But I know we're all tired. But this is the time to be happy. This is a great time of the year. I'll be doing Christmas decorating this weekend because Thanksgiving was last weekend time and it, just didn't line up. This weekend, I'll be doing some Christmas decorating. I'll be spending some time with the family. You guys should be too. This is the time of Advent. This is the time of looking forward to the arrival of Christ. Birth of baby Jesus. It's a good time. Good time. Good time to be alive. What a time to be alive. All right, y'all. Got your pine scented candles today? I got some candles in it, but light this candle right then. But everybody who's been listening, to everybody catching this on replay, y'all have a good, safe, celebratory weekend. Get your decorating up if you haven't already. Put Christmas music on. Cozy up. It's cold outside. Cozy up. Stay warm. Watch Die Hard. Do the things you need to do. Watch some football. Hopefully they don't ruin it with clips to just making sure that everybody knows that Taylor Swift exists, because apparently we need that reminder all the time. Dude, enjoy. There's lots out there. Go to church. I'll see y'all on Monday. Y'all have a great night, and God bless.